All right, what's going on, everyone? We'll see if we figure this out. If you guys are joining me on the YouTube channel, I could not tell you what just went on. I never had that happen before, so I apologize for that. Obviously, we'll have to fly a little solo, and if need be, we'll just do another power hour on this Football Friday edition of On Cue. I have no idea exactly what went on. I couldn't answer that. I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine, so I certainly apologize for that. And as I said, we'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out. We'll also, just because we're having some difficulties, and we'll try to remedy this by tomorrow. We will certainly do a Saturday show. So again, apologize for that. Get in on the conversation. We'll fly solo over the next, I guess, hour. We'll do that. But as I mentioned, a lot of football to get into on this Friday. Very crazy game last night, Thursday night football, back and forth affair between Seattle and the Rams. And I guess really, when you think about it, you watch a game like that and you try to figure out exactly, who's going to step up to the forefront and who's actually going to be a hero in this type of game. And last night, I thought that Darnold asserted himself nice after he had a couple of those interceptions. He really the talk throughout last night's test, was the fact that is Seattle going to be able to kind of stay toe to toe with the Rams? And listen, they did last night. I mean, they fell behind, they came back. You got the long kickoff return. Somebody kind of wake Al Michaels in the booth, will you? But it was a big win, 38-37. Everyone's going to talk about, the 2-point conversion and the backwards pass, the lateral, which again, Seattle presence of mind to jump on the ball. And that's all you can ask for. The presence of mind to jump on the ball. And I thought last night, listen, that's a big win for Seattle. That is a real big win for Seattle. And as I said, again, you guys can definitely get in on the conversation. Got some comments coming in. Have no issues with what's going on with the software, the EV Mux today. It is what it is. So we'll be on solo for about an hour. And then tomorrow, we'll try to remedy this, and we'll go 2 hours tomorrow to get you ready for Washington and the Eagles. Saturday night games as well in the NFL. You also have the Packers and the Bears. But last night, Stafford, to me, locked up the MVP. Even though they lost that game, he threw for 457, 3 touchdowns. I thought Nacua was outstanding. He was brilliant, 12 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, him tweeting after the game was probably not the most smart thing to do. He was fined 25,000. He had a very, I guess you can say, kind of a ridiculous type of week. If you're Tua with, going on the streaming and the Twitch, and then, maybe the celebration that was deemed anti-Semitic, and then his brother having an issue stealing a car, and then Tua, Nacua twice ripping the referees and then tweeting after it. And McVay was ticked off last night. Sean McVay was absolutely ticked off last night because the media kept pressing him. And if you go back, credit to McDonald, right? Because Seattle knew they could not walk out of there with a tie. And it was a very gutsy call for that 2-point conversion. I don't think anyone thought the backup tight end was going to have an opportunity to make a play, and Seattle makes the play. And I know there's so much confusion regarding, the 2-point conversion, and I understand why. I understand why there's confusion, because I think people looked at it and said, well, wait, this doesn't make sense. If it's a backwards pass and the play is whistled dead, then by all accounts, no one should have an opportunity then to pick up the football. But that's exactly what they did yesterday. And that was a heads-up play by Charmini. He grabs it. You don't worry about playing through the whistle in that regard. And, the Rams just were not thinking in that moment, right? They just, you talk about a prisoner of the moment, not paying attention, and here you have it. So that's a big win by Seattle last night. It really is. And also, if you think about it, that win by Seattle last night opens up the door. It opens up the door now for the 49ers, who have an opportunity to win out and get home field advantage. So tomorrow, as I mentioned, we'll come back on the air. We're going to do an hour. We'll try to remedy through the software issue. But you got the Eagles and the Commanders. You got the Packers and the Bears. Eagles are a 7-point favorite in this one on the road against Washington. The Packers are 1.5-point dog against Chicago on the road. You've got a big game coming up between the Bills. They want to kind of keep pace with the New England Patriots. Jacksonville and Denver is a monster contest, 4:05 on Fox. Denver with that long winning streak. Obviously, Jacksonville starting to play really good football. Denver is laying 3.5 in this one. Steelers and the Lions. I think that's the last stand for the Detroit Lions. Ravens and the Pats, and then the 49ers and the Colts. But last night, give credit where credit is due to Sam Darnold. And Darnold overcame a couple bad interceptions. This is kind of who he is. He fought through it. He hung in there, and there you have it. He made some plays. And that's all you can ask for in a quarterback is just hanging in. And he made the throws when he had to make the throws. And this was one of my keys yesterday to this game last night. One of my keys to the game was the Seattle's ability to get the Rams off the field on third down. And they were able to do that. But explain this to me. How do you have a game? How do you have a game where the Rams put up all those points, all those yardage? You had a 200-yard receiver. You had a 450-yard passer. You put up over 600, 700 yards of offense, whatever the heck it was. You score 37 points, and you still lose the game. And oh, by the way, you're up 23-7. Like, the Rams got to figure out how to close some of these games if we believe they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But Stafford was brilliant. The offensive line was brilliant. And, oh, by the way, they ran for $124, and they still lost the game. So you had 124 yards on the ground. You had a 457-yard passer, and you had 457 yards in the air, right? 225 by one wide receiver. And you still lost the game. Unbelievable. I mean, you just don't see that sometimes in the NFL. You really don't. It's very rare, the stats, the numbers that they were throwing out there. But I thought Stafford played brilliantly. To me, Matthew Stafford is the NFL MVP. And I know people will argue that with me, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. You can argue with me all you want on that. I think Stafford is the MVP. I mean, that's how good he is playing. And I just thought last night, man, there was an opportunity. They should have won that game. Should have won that game. No excuse. No excuse if you're the Rams. That's a game you got to win. It's right there for you. You cannot blow these types of leads. Luca Brazzi chimes in. It's not, listen, the blue screen, I couldn't tell you. It had nothing to do with the Death Star mic. Microphone is fine. Can the Rams make Nacua unavailable to the press? I mean, listen, you can sit there and say you don't want to speak. The problem is this kid's 24 years of age. You know, he was a, fifth-round draft pick. He's an exceptional wide receiver. He's extremely talented. But now he's starting to trending towards that kind of clown status, and that's never a good thing. You never want that, and that's exactly where he's trending. And if I'm the Rams, if I'm McVay, someone's got to keep this kid in check. Someone's got to figure it out. Like, someone really has to keep him in check, because you can't have him saying what he's saying. You can't have him tweeting what he's tweeting. You just can't. You have to grow up. There's got to be that line, and you can't go past that line. And the problem is, you know, because he's such a good player, I think what's happening is you want to turn a blind eye. You just can't do it. All right, 22 past the 4 o'clock hour. Like I said, we'll do a little power hour on this Friday. I would have loved to have had the other software up and running. I sincerely apologize. We're going to have to push the guest as well. Never a good thing, but we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. And I just want to, let me just say, hold on a second. Issues with stream today. No guest link. So, yeah, as I mentioned, we typically have Bueller on a Friday. We typically have Lloyd on a Friday. But you guys will have to bear with me solo till about 5 o'clock. We'll rip through some of these games. I also mentioned baseball-wise, Steve Cohen with some of his comments that are probably rubbing the Met fan the wrong way. You got Jake Paul, Joshua. You got that fight later on this evening. A lot of money coming in late on Paul. So as far as these games, the issue is that the marquee games for this weekend, apologize, I had to just text a guest. The marquee games for this weekend, pretty simple. You've got Eagles in Washington, and the Eagles win. They clinch the NFC East. Dallas is pretty much out of playoff contention. That could be a meaningless game for Dallas against the Chargers. Chiefs and the Titans, both teams playing out the string. Cincinnati, Miami, both playing out the string. Jets and the Saints, both playing out the string. The Giants, they are getting 2.5 at home against the Vikings. And the Giants right now, they're trying to jockey for that top overall seed in April's draft. So we're not going to sit here and say they're going to tank. They're going to tank. But I think people are going to look at the Giants and say, okay, wait a second, lose out. Panthers and the Bucks is a big game. NFC South playoff implications, division on the line. Carolina is a good football team, 4-2 at home. They had that bad loss against the Saints. The Bucks also, you can't really figure them out. They're 500, 4-3 on the road as well. Tampa Bay's laying 3. One of the marquee games, though, AFC 405 window, Denver against Jacksonville. Denver's on that long winning streak. Jacksonville has a nice winning streak. And this is a big spot for Jacksonville. This is a really big spot. If you're a fan of Jacksonville, then you're going to have to figure out a way, how can we get through that Denver defense? I mean, if Denver's going to start stacking a box and dare Trevor Lawrence to beat them, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to do. Denver has a very good defense. They have an exceptional defense. They play really good team defense, and they have a good run defense as well. And I think that's going to put a lot more pressure on Trevor Lawrence to make some plays. And we'll see if he's able to do it. We will definitely see if Lawrence is able to do it. That's a marquee game, but I do like Denver in the spot. I still believe Denver needs to lose a game. They need to stub their toe. Falcons and the Cardinals, both teams playing out the string. They have some questions when it comes to the quarterback. The Steelers and the Lions, this can be a high-scoring game. The Lions really just haven't gotten right all season long. The Lions have not played the type of football that we've seen in the past. They've struggled a little bit. They are laying 7 at home, which is a big number. It really is a big number. And they're also coming off a game where they gave up 41 points to the Rams on the road, mind you. But they need this game. If the Lions have any inkling, any notion, any thought of making the playoffs, then they have to win this game. They have to. Because I think the NFC North is going to get Green Bay and Chicago in. I don't see 3 teams coming out of North. So this is pretty much a playoff game for the Detroit Lions. It is a playoff game for the Detroit Lions. And then conversely, the flip side to that is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, to me, they've been very inconsistent, somewhat of an enigma. I don't think they're a very good football team. They're going to be a product of a bad AFC North, but yet they're right there to just grab hold of the AFC North, especially if they can get through and pass the Lions. That gets them to 9 wins, and then they have the Browns, and that should be an easy 10 wins. The Ravens potentially could shape up to be for the division. I mean, imagine this in the NFL and the NFC. Imagine winning 11 or 12 games, 13 games, which is plausible. Seattle and the Rams, and you're still not hosting a playoff game. That would be absolutely just ludicrous if that actually happened. It really would. It would be absolutely ludicrous if that happened. I mean, that's where we're at in the NFL this season. It's just as crazy as it sounds. This is where we're at. 12, 13 win team, and you got to go on the road. You're not hosting a playoff game. I would be annoyed. I mean, do they have to figure out a way to realign, do something a little different? Who knows? But I would be annoyed if I was a team that won 12, 11 games, 13 games. And oh, by the way, I got to go on the road. Buffalo against Cleveland. We documented this game heavy with Lloyd Vance when we dropped BYP. The Bills on the road laying 10.5. I think they waxed the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have a boatload of issues. Their offense is just a sinking ship. You're watching this game to see if Myles Garrett to break the single season sack record that Strahan accomplished many years ago when Favre basically rolled into him and took the dive against New York. And that gave him that broke Gastineau's record. But Myles Garrett, that's the play in this one. Buffalo should roll over the Cleveland Browns. The Chargers on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys put up points. They play better at home, but they can't stop anyone. So we do like the Chargers in that game. I did mention a little bit that Steelers-Lions game, Patriots and Ravens. If you're a Pats fan and you watch this game and you're saying to yourself, okay, we're up 21-0 over the Bills. Drake May looks like, he's a bona fide star, and then it kind of goes south. And then Buffalo and McDermott make adjustments. The Ravens, you can run the football. If I'm New England, I'm running the football on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are laying 3. This is the last gasp for the Ravens. They can ill afford to keep tripping up, especially if the Steelers win. Seattle has 2 tough opponents. Rams have 2 weak opponents. Will Seattle hold on? Listen, I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacking play. I really do. But I did mention the 49ers. This opens up, believe it or not, the 49ers benefiting from Seattle's win last night. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, the 49ers, believe it or not the Eagles, not Seattle, not the Rams. The 49ers are in the driver's seat. Now, in August, I said this team was winning 10 or more. 49ers fans said absolutely not, in spite of their injuries. Would they be your atypical top seed in the NFL or in the NFC in years past? No, because they're not as good as the Rams, and I don't think defensively they're as good as Seattle. But because of Seattle's wild win last night on Thursday Night Football, San Fran is suddenly a dark horse team. And believe it or not, again, they got major help. So the 49ers have full control over their path. They can win the NFC West, and they can clinch the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Because last night, Seattle's win pretty much kicked the door wide open for the Niners. Here you go. Let's come in, steal the top spot in the conference. And it's pretty simple. All the 49ers need to do is win their final 3 games. That's it. They win the NFC West, and they get the top seed in the NFC. How crazy is that? Did anyone think that a month or so ago when they lost to, say, the Rams, or they lost to the Texans? I mean, they quietly have won 4 straight, and they've got winnable games. That game against Seattle to close out the season might be for the top spot in the NFC. It might be. All right, 4:31, Sarge chimes in. Q, at least we got you on YouTube. That's okay. We'll take a little Friday power hour. Can you please explain to me what the hell happened on that 2-point play? It was a cluster. I think we can all agree. But it's technically a backwards lateral pass, which in essence, by definition, is a fumble. I think the confusion is that the play was whistled dead, but yet Charbonnet picked up the ball when he was in the end zone, and the football was in the end zone. Hence, they converted a 2-point play. It's one of the most bizarre 2-point plays you'll ever see. But the bottom line is Seattle overcame a 16-point deficit. This is the second big lead that the Rams have blown this season. They did it against the Eagles. So Darnold's pass, it gets deflected, and it was ruled incomplete. But if you watch it, it was determined that it was a backwards pass. So even if it's a backwards pass and deflected, it's not an incomplete. It's ruled a fumble. And then Charbonnet basically casually picked up the ball in the end zone, and boom, you're credited with 2. That's a heads-up play. And Mike McDaniel, Seattle head coach, very heads-up, knowing the situation late in the game in overtime. A tie does us no good. We already lost to his team earlier in the season. We need to go for the win, and that's exactly what they did. And I thought last year, here's a coach that maybe is not getting it, and now all of a sudden you're starting to see the guy's getting it. I mean, that was, that was a big time call and a gutsy call because I don't think anyone had their backup tight end on the bingo card. And listen, did the Rams not having Adams hurt last night? Well, they put up 37. Now, where it hurt them is the fact that they settled for field goals in the red zone 3 times. And that was one of the keys I talked about. If Seattle holds them to 3 and you don't have Adams out there for the Rams, who's a red zone threat, then it becomes a little dicey proposition if you are a Rams fan, right? It is only in that instance that possession is undetermined until a player touches the ball. Yes, but again, it doesn't matter whether he touched it or not. The pass itself, it's not even a pass because it's backwards. It's ruled a fumble. And the fumble is attached to the quarterback. That's why it's a live ball. And then the ball kind of got scooted around. It was very bizarre. It was a bizarre play. And what made it more confusing is the fact that the referees blew the whistle. They blew the whistle on that. And that's what made it confusing. Because it was a weird 2-point conversion, right? And that's, Nacua comes out and he starts doubling down on the referee criticism. But again, go back and watch the play. It's probably one of the strangest plays you'll ever see. And again, I don't even think the referees knew what the hell was going on. And Terry McAuley was all over it. All over it. You watch football long enough and you say to yourself, I've seen everything. I've seen everything. But I've never seen a play like that. I've never, ever seen a play like that. I mean, I go back. Remember the double punt, a couple years ago? I mean, it's just too many improbable things can kind of happen. So if you kind of walk it back, 30-28, Seattle scores a touchdown, right, on the pass to Barner. They're going for 2. Sam Darnold lines up under center. Jackson Smith on the outside to his right. Kupp and Barner in the slot to his left. Charbonnet out wide to his left, Walker deep in the backfield, and you got Charbonnet going in motion. He's moving behind Kupp and Barner, and Darnold tosses a bubble screen his way. The play is a disaster from the get-go. It really is. So you saw, I think it was the linebacker or the defensive end, got to the ball quickly, hands on it, helmet, boom. And then this is where it gets goofy. So now the ball has gotten to Charbonnet, and you figure, okay, he's going to get tackled. No one made a move on him because everyone thought the play was ruled dead. And the ball bounces up high, it's nearly caught, and then it hits at the goal line, and then it hits the ground. And play over, whistle blow. Now, Charbonnet casually jogs over, picks up the ball, rolling around just inside the end zone for no other reason that he was probably the closest player to the ball. He gathers it, and boom. And I when I'm watching, and I'm like, wait a second, is that going to count? I had one eye on that game and obviously calling the game late last night, so I'm kind of going back and forth. And again, the play was reviewed. And the angle that was reviewed, that the pass was released at just about the 4.25 yard line. And again, if you go back, it traveled backwards. The ball is actually live. And since no one secured the ball on the ground, it is basically a fumble. And Charbonnet is credited with recovering a live ball and basically converting the 2-point conversion. And it got confusing because they blew the whistle. That's all. And that's why it was a play that was ruled successful 2-point conversion. And that's why Terry McLaurin said what he said, the rules analyst. Basically clarified it. The whistle's irrelevant. As long as the recovery of the ball is clear. And that's exactly what happened. It's bizarre. It's a heads-up play. And then to add a little insult to injury, if you're a Rams fan, Seattle gets the ball back late. Darnold makes a couple throws. They punch it in. They go for 2, and they win the game. Because they knew they had to go for the win. They could not get out of there with a tie because the Rams already beat them. That is a head coach that understands situational football. A head coach that, again, understands situational football. Sorry, chimes in Q. It's still very confusing to me, but like you said, I'll take your word for it. I'm just reiterating it to you. Joe D chimes in. Q, what's your thoughts on Saturday's game? Do you think Mariota is going to make some plays, or do you think the Eagles basically blow them out? I think Washington covers. I really do. I think Washington covers in this game. This is not a gimme game for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't suspect Washington's going to go out and accumulate less than 100 yards of offense like the Raiders did. They couldn't even move the football. Washington can move the football a little bit. And the Eagles are on the road. It's NFC East. You know that stadium will be full of Eagles fans. But here's where you're at, right? If the Eagles win this game, they clinch the NFC East. Obviously, they clinch a playoff spot. Dallas got nothing to play for. If the Eagles are up 17-3, 20-6 going into third, Washington might roll over. They didn't play poorly last week. They actually played pretty well against a bad Giant team. You know, they didn't show up against the Vikings. They played Denver tough, played Miami tough, gave up a lot of points against Detroit, gave up a lot of points against Seattle. You know, they had that nasty slide. But against the Giants, special teams made some plays. Mariota was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over, and they ran for $145. Now, if they can run for $145 against the Eagles and keep that offense off the field and win the battle of time of possession and get the Eagles off the field on third down, Washington has a chance to stay in this game. If the Eagles take a page out of what they saw last week, then all you're going to do, you're going to keep pounding the rock to Saquon Barkley. You're just going to have to keep pounding the rock with Saquon Barkley. Ride his legs. All right, 440, got about 20 to play with. And again, guys, we'll be back on tomorrow. I apologize with the EV Mux. Actually went through the software 3 times. I have no idea what transpired. I know you guys like to say it has something to do with the Death Star mic. It has nothing to do with the microphone. Sometimes they do these upgrades, and other times I never saw that blue screen before. So hopefully tomorrow, and when we do a full show on a Saturday, mind you, we will really get into these games. My guy Lloyd tweets out, every NFL season since 1990, there have been at least 4 new playoff teams in the postseason. The trend looks like it's going to continue in 2025. Chiefs, Vikings, Commanders, either Ravens or Steelers won't be back. That's the interesting part of the NFL, the parity. The parity, the parity, the parity. The parity is unbelievable. Imagine winning 12 games, 13 games, and you're not hosting a playoff game. You know, did anyone think the 49ers are going to have an opportunity to get home field advantage? D chimes in Q, who'd have more faith in the Broncos or Jacksonville to win or to go deep in the playoffs? I already told you, I have Denver winning the Super Bowl, but I think Denver needs to stub their toe. I think Denver needs to stub their toe. And I know Denver fans don't want to hear it, but I think they need to take a loss. Now, is it painful if they take a loss this weekend? No, it's not. You know, maybe they get a little lucky and Indianapolis, New England loses to the Ravens, but they need to stub their toe. Winning 17 straight games is a big ask. They're 12-2. They're due to have a letdown. They've got the Chiefs with Minshew, and then they'll play the Chargers. And the one thing is, if the Chargers win and get to 11-4 and Denver loses and they're 12-3, well, guess what? Now that last game of the season means something because the Chargers already beat them in week 3. So if you're Denver, think about this. If you're a Denver Broncos fan, you can go from having the top seed in the AFC right now to dropping all the way down to like the 6th seed and losing the AFC West. This team's won 11 games in a row. That is a tough ask. And if you're going to get it out of your system, you know, get it out of your system. Get it out of your system now. Don't get it out the last game of the season when you lose to the Chargers. Tom Summers Point chimes in Q. I think the Eagles are going to give Saquon at least 20, 25 touches. My only concern is the run defense. I think if Washington, if you're forcing Mariota to beat you, that's one thing. I can see them, the Eagles, getting to Mariota. I can also see them stacking a box a little bit as well. Sean chimes in, Q, I'm a diehard Rams fan. I just can't for the life of me understand what the hell this kid's doing. You're talking about Nacua. Yeah, I don't know. You got to be smarter. If you're a young kid, you're a young wide receiver, you just can't be foolish. And he's being foolish right now. Jacksonville fans, by the way, so big trade that was 6 weeks ago for Myers, and now they're rewarding him with that contract extension. He was scheduled to be a free agent after the season. Not anymore. They lock him up. That's a nice target for Trevor Lawrence. That's a nice move for Jacksonville. He's been a pleasant surprise in that offense. Let me sprinkle in a couple more. What do we got here? Kevin North Jersey chimes in. Q, tank. Any chance that the Giants will sit Dart after Sunday? For what reason? Why after Sunday? Like, why, if they lose to Minnesota, they still got 2 more games left. If you want the Giants to tank, they're not going to tank. If you want them to lose out, they're going to lose out because they're not a good football team. And I got news for you. You better pray that they make that West Coast trip and they don't show up against the Raiders. I see them losing to the Vikings. The Raiders are going to be a tricky spot. And then the Cowboys want to finish the year on a high note. And Prescott wants to put up his numbers, right? They want to get a win to close things out. I mean, the Giants, you might lose the number 1 draft pick against the Raiders, but I've said this on the record. The Giants will be fine if it's 1 or 2. You don't want to drop from 1 all the way to 7 or 8. From 1 or 2, you'll be fine. 4:45. All right, a couple minutes before we get out of here. Don't worry, we'll be back on tomorrow. And again, we'll get the software issue, but I wanted to at least come on for a little bit. I'm glad we were able to come on yesterday too, during the day. Got some good feedback on that, so I appreciate it. As always, I would tell you this: download the Odyssey app, search Coastal Sports Digital Network. You'll be able to get us going forward. Show me the money man chimes in. Q, what do you think tonight for Paul and Anthony Joshua? A lot of money is coming in on Jake Paul. If you guys haven't been paying attention, that's a really good card. But listen, Jake Paul has been good for boxing. But is this fight against Anthony Joshua is like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see him get hurt. I don't. I really don't. Like, this is not a joke. Like Anthony Joshua, this is you're talking about a big time opponent. And I think a lot of people would say, why the hell was this fight even sanctioned? You're talking about a 2-time unified heavyweight champ. He's a former Olympic gold medalist, and he's also one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division. So you saw what he did against Otto Whalen. Now you're sticking in with Jake Paul that is going to have to try to figure out a way to get courageous and get inside because of the size difference. And if he does, he might get caught with a right hand. But it is crazy that so much more money now. What's he at? Plus 650, 750 as a dog? I mean, I love the fact that he's working on the craft. He's in the gym. He's taking it serious. But man, I'm telling you, this is not a 60-something-year-old Mike Tyson. And I'm a little surprised that this fight is sanctioned. I really am. I'm a little surprised that this fight is sanctioned. It's a really good card, nonetheless. It is. It's you look at the undercard, it's a good card. But right now, all the money, a lot of money, majority of the bets are coming in on Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua is 6'6", 243. Jake Paul is 6'1", 215. And the only time he fought a heavyweight was against a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. He's 7-1 dog right now, but yet he's attracting 82% of the bets. 90% of the money that's been wagered on DraftKings is on Paul. This is a sanctioned fight in Miami. I wouldn't have sanctioned it, but whatever. Because you see the money moving like this, then you start to think something's goofy. He entered Friday minus 1,200. Joshua did. Minus 1,200 favored. So that means for the novice bettors out there, you got to risk $1,200 to net 100. That tells you he's a prohibited favorite. Yeah, something's not up. Something's not. So apparently I was looking at this from my buddy at Hard Rock down there, Hard Rock Bet, sportsbook in Florida. He was basically telling me the action is beyond lopsided on Jake Paul. Like Florida loves Jake Paul. Pretty much as simple as that. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. A win by Paul would be a problem, so AJ should win. It would be a big-time problem. It really would. And you can sit there and say Joshua's washed. What's the last thing to go? Your power as a heavyweight. Jake Paul, if he can get inside a little bit, be disruptive, making an ugly fight, who knows? He said that prior to the fight, he sparred some significant heavyweights, and I have no problem with Jake Paul in boxing. I don't. Now, the other thing is he's got the fresh legs, the younger legs. He's 28. Joshua's 36. I don't know. Maybe he shocks the world. Put some shekels on it. Go ahead. Mike in Ohio chimes in. Q, any shot that the Browns cover this weekend? None. I think the Bills are going to roll them. I really do. I think the Bills are going to roll them. That line is 10.5. I think Buffalo wins this 34-17. For all we talked about the Browns defense, they gave up 31 last week to the Bears. If you're watching this game, you watch for Garrett. See if he can break the sack record. And it's hard to do against Josh Allen because Josh Allen is pretty elusive. But I think Sanders will struggle a little bit. I would not even touch this game. I even told Lloyd during Back Your Play, I'm not touching this game at all. There's 3 or 4 games this weekend that I would want nothing to do with. Chiefs and Titans, which I actually think the Titans have an opportunity to win this game outright. Obviously, no Mahomes. Kansas City invested to back up for, just in case. And here's the reason they did it. But obviously, it's not a playoff year with Minshew now and not Mahomes. The line was 11.5. It's 3. I think Ward's going to make some plays. Cincinnati and Miami, we know Tua is benched. We went through the contract ad nauseum over the last several days. His time on Miami is done. I can see Cincinnati pretty much putting up a 30 spot. They're not even going to Zach Wilson. They're going to the kid out of Texas. The Jets and the Saints, I keep flip-flopping because part of me really believes at the end of the day that Aaron Glenn has to figure it out. And if Aaron Glenn and this defense continues to struggle and they play poorly, he might be one and done. Michael chimes in, Broncos country, let's ride. Man says, I think our Death Star keyboards must not be working. I see him in here. I see him in there. Tough game for the Broncos this weekend, home to Jacksonville. Yeah, I see him. I didn't appreciate the comments early on when you were blaming the Death Star mic. It's not the microphone. Sometimes the software gets a little iffy, but we're on the air. And by the way, thank you to the corporation. I should say half of the corporation that decided to lock me in yesterday with the power hour on a Thursday afternoon. Took time away from their lunch, their families, work, and they tuned me in. That's the good half. The other half, not so much. Nick and Wyford chimes in, Q. Are you going to do a Saturday show? Don't tease us like that. Eagles, Washington, what's your thoughts? Yes, I told you. Eagles play 5 tomorrow. We'll get the software worked out. Check out the YouTube channel for notifications, and we're going to pop on the air for a little bit tomorrow. That's a 5 o'clock game, Eagles and Washington. We're not calling the games until later on in the night, so we can get the Eagles, Commanders, little preview, Packers, and the Bears. I think Washington covers. I do. It's an NFC East game. I think it'll be a close game. I don't see the Eagles running away with this game. If Saquon gets his 20, 25 touches, the Eagles are going to be fine. If Washington somehow causes Jalen Hurts to turn the ball over and they flip the field and maybe there's a fluky play in special teams or a block punt or a kickoff return, which Washington has a couple of nice players, special teams, then they would pull off the upset. But other than that, Eagles are right there. They win this game, they clinch the NFC East, and they clinch a playoff spot. Then Dallas, that game against the Chargers is meaningless, and Dallas is basically going to what to bed. So the games that I was looking at, Tampa and Carolina, it's almost as like a war of attrition. Who the hell wants to win the NFC South? Jacksonville and Denver, and I still trust Denver at home, but I want Denver to lose a game. They got to get it out of their system. It's just too hard. 17 straight wins is a tough ask. Now, you don't like to say get it out of your system and you lose, then you got to hope on Sunday Night Football the Ravens beat New England, which is somewhat of a possibility if they can figure out a way to slow down New England's offense and their rushing attack. You still got Henry and Lamar Jackson, right? But if I'm Denver, I hate saying you got to lose a game. Robert chimes in, Q, I can't believe 49ers actually have a path to number. They do. Win out. 49ers fans should be ecstatic. I mean, if you're a confident 49er fan, you should be ecstatic. If you're not, and, you're scared, I don't know what to tell you. 49ers have a clear path right now to get the number one seed in the NFC. They got to win outright. It's right there for them. Now, Indianapolis, they play much better defense. I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to be able to throw the ball down the field. I don't. It's going to be a Taylor game. If I'm the 49ers, I stack the box. I force Phillip Rivers to kind of beat me with his arm. I don't see it happening. I just don't. Kristen Times River, Q, I know you think that the Giants are not going to win this game. I want them to win the game to build a little momentum, but I'm torn between tanking, getting number 1, and then dropping all the way to number 6 or number 7. The Giants are not winning this game. They're not a good football team, and Minnesota can move the ball. That quarterback's playing with some confidence. I mean, Jefferson should have a field day against that Giants secondary. He should have a field day. Their secondary stinks, and they can't get to the quarterback. They can't get to the quarterback. Jefferson runs great routes. He catches everything. By his standard, it really hasn't been his type of season. But I can see Justin Jefferson, 8 for $115, and he gets in the end zone a couple times against the Giants. He was non-existent the last couple weeks, and he really hasn't had a Jefferson type of game aside from the game against Cleveland when he had a $129, and I think the game against Pittsburgh for a $126, and he lost. And they lost, I should say. And he hasn't gotten in the end zone a lot. I think that changes. Dan chimes in, Keno, I'm a huge Lions fan. The loss of Laporta is really starting to hurt this team. I know the backup's starting to come on. What are the keys to a win? Laporta loss is huge for the Lions. That was the safety valve. It's almost like last night when the Rams kept getting in the red zone, they missed Adams. The Lions missed Laporta. I think it's a injury that's not talked about enough, but I also believe the Lions, they have enough weapons where the Steelers can't match them defensively. The Lions should be able to move the ball. Their passing efficiency, I mean, they can move the football. They have one of the best passing attacks in the NFL. They get in the red zone. They score touchdowns. If they can put up 24-28, I just don't see Aaron Rodgers in this offense matching them. I just don't. There are 2 or 3 games that I think, if you're looking at it, even from a betting standpoint, which I mentioned to Lloyd today on Back Your Play, I'll give you a couple of them. So you've got that Tennessee and Kansas City game. I would play the Titans defense and or special teams to get a touchdown. The Browns and the Bills, I would play Buffalo's special teams or defense for a touchdown. I just would. And what was the third game we talked about? Oh, the Cincinnati and Miami. You got a young kid out there. Even though Cincinnati's defense is bad, I would still, hell, I would even say Minnesota forces a couple Jackson Dart turnovers with Flores. So those are a couple games that I would look at defensively. Special teams, defensive unit with a touchdown. an anytime score for the defensive unit. Falcons and the Cardinals, I'm not touching. The only thing I would lean towards playing would be the over in that one, 48.5. Raiders and the Texans, I think the Texans are going to blow them out. The Raiders have zero offense. Pete Carroll's gone. Geno Smith's gone. Not working out. No, I cannot pronounce that properly. No chance Browns cover. And my fault, Q. I didn't tune in on Thursday. I'm a machinist. Give me a pass. Is it me? The 49ers are quietly dangerous, or am I reaching? A machinist. Look at that. That's yeoman that's manual labor instead of somebody's little rats sitting at home watching like taco YouTube channels all day or whatever it is. Switch, Twitch, whatever the hell it is. Must not be as confident Giant fan. Hey, listen. Two things. I said the Giants were going to win 5 games this year. 4 games, I think, at best. That's on the record. Luka can check it. Here we go. And, I don't know why he's doing that. And then the 49ers, 10. And now you're telling me I got a pronunciation for you. How about a thumbs up? You know where you can put that one? How about a little Josh Hart action? How about that? Is that where you want to go? You want me to spike pick against the 49ers now on Monday night against the Colts? It's Charbonnet, right? Charbonnet? Taiwanuska. Joe DQ, I can't believe this. You're not out of sync, but I can tell you're aggravated because you're not firing off. Yeah, I'm aggravated because I don't know what the hell happened with the Evie Mucks today. I had to bother Angel. You know where Angel is? Angel is covering. Here you go. He just texted me. Angel is covering the. Wait, what did Angel tweet? A tale of two tales. No. He wanted a tale of two halves. Angel is covering the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl between who's playing in this game? Memphis and who? Is it North NC? Who the hell's playing in this game? There's too many friggin' bowl games going on out there. Angel is covering. Yeah, I got to pull this up right now. Memphis and NC State. He's covering that bowl game. Right now, NC State's up 31-7. Yeah, we definitely have to come on tomorrow because I want to recap Alabama, Oklahoma. We got to get college football tomorrow. We got to get in the NFL tomorrow. So, yes, we will do a Saturday show. And here's the real question. Okay? Here's the real question. The corporation, the good half of the corp, they've been very loyal late. The other half of the corporation has come up with just excuse after excuse. Even some of the listeners have noticed it. So when I fire off tomorrow, we're actually going to see, who is basically a foxhole guy. Double down. Oh, the Josh Hart. No saltiness at all. I'm aggravated because Evie Muck's in to fire off. I wanted to do my live reads, fresh roasted coffee. I wanted to get my graphics up. I'm building more graphics up for you guys for 2026. How about that? And obviously, I couldn't get my guy Lloyd on or my guy John Bueller. Probably wanted to talk a little Bama, little Georgia. Can't do it. What do we got here? Glenn in EHT chimes in. Q. What's the line? Did it move on New England and the Ravens? I'm actually starting to lean towards Baltimore. I think Henry's going to have a field day. That line is sitting right at 3, my man. That line is sitting right at 3. If New England, they're an interesting team, right? They were up 21-0. They were up. Go away. They were up 21-0. By the way, very creative with the symbols. They were up 21-0 against Buffalo. They couldn't close them out. And I'm telling you, if you are a New England fan, the last thing you want is to lose this game because then all of a sudden what's going to happen? Now the doubt is starting to creep in. That's exactly what's going to happen. Up 21-0 against Big Brother. Couldn't close them out. Now we're losing a little confidence. Here we go. Drake May starting to take a step back. 2 bad contests in a row. The run defense, what's going on? If you are worth your salt, no pun intended, man, and if you're New England and you really want to say we can bounce back, we're a mature team, you have to handle your business against Baltimore, especially on the road. You have to. This is a very tough spot right now for New England because I think Derrick Henry might have that 25 plus touch game. I really do. Charbonnet. Is it like Chardonnay, right? But Charbonnet, whatever. I mean, I give you guys great insight, and all you want to do is just correct me on my butchering of names. That's fine. Steve chimes in. Stevie C, big boxing fan. Q, absolutely no way Jake Paul's winning this friggin' fight. You got to be effing kidding me. I'm not saying he is. Stevie C's got a good YouTube channel, too. He does a lot with boxing, so I always appreciate that. Your guess is as good as mine, man. All you got to do is look at the number. Just look at the odds. That scares me when the majority of the bets are coming on the underdog. That's when I start to think maybe something's a little goofy, right? If that makes sense. 7-1 dog. I don't know about that. Marky Mark chimes in. Q. You know my Eagles are going to rip through Washington. I can see Saquon going for 20 to 25, $136 and a touchdown. If he goes 20 to 25 for $136 and a touchdown, takes a lot of pressure off Jalen Hurts. You just need Jalen Hurts to be efficient. Then they should definitely try to get out of there with a win. Mariota obviously gives you a little different dimension and element that Jaden Daniels didn't. And Mariota's a pro's pro. Mariota understands the offense, can play within himself. He can still move around a little bit with his legs, and he can improvise. We saw that last week against the Giants. And I'm telling you, too, watch special teams in this game, especially if the conditions are bad. Special teams might have a hand in this game. All right, a couple minutes before we start wrapping it up. And again, I apologize, but I appreciate you guys chiming in on the YouTube channel. I feel very naked now with the YouTube channel. My graphics and everything, live reads, fresh roasted coffee, 20% off. All right, let's do a little rapid fire on these games, and we'll dive into them a lot more tomorrow. So as I mentioned, Seattle over the Rams 38-37. Eagles, Washington Commanders getting 7 in this game. As I mentioned, should be an efficient Hurts game. Maybe you turn over Mariota a little bit. Washington's going to cover the number. I do like the Eagles to win this game. Packers and the Bears. Bears are laying 1.5. They're a good team at home. They're 5-1. This obviously, we will have a better feel for the NFC North. I still think the Lions are going to be on the outside looking in. The Bears should be able to run the ball against the Packers, especially with no Micah Parsons. Bills laying 10.5. I'm very comfortable with that number. I see this 31-13. Chargers and the Cowboys. The only play in this game that I like is the over 49.5. Chiefs and Titans, not even touching it. If you want to be a little courageous, grab the Titans on the money line. Grab them on the money line. It's a very low number, 237.5. Cincinnati should wax Miami. They're sticking a kid that's green back there. Miami's basically, once they bench Tua, they told you, we're not going forward with this guy. Jets and the Saints, I don't care. Vikings and the Giants. I like the Vikings. I really do. I hate the fact that now with 3 games left, I just got to make sure Jackson Dart doesn't get hurt and goes out of bounds, which is utterly ridiculous. Tampa and the Panthers. I am leaning towards the Panthers at home. And I'm going to tell you why. The Panthers have shown you they can have a couple bad losses, but then they rebound. They had 2 bad losses on the road against Jacksonville and Arizona to start the season, and then they shut out Atlanta. They lost to the Patriots, and then they came back and they beat the Dolphins. Like every time they have a bad performance on the road, a la the 49ers, they come back and they beat the Rams. They lose to the Saints on the road 20-17. Now I think they come back and they beat the Bucs. And remember, I told you the Panthers were going to be a playoff team. I like the Panthers in this game over Tampa Bay. Jacksonville and Denver, I hate to do it, Bronco ball. You got to trip up eventually once. You have to. And maybe this is the game where Bo Nix and that offense kind of slows down a little bit. Or maybe this is the game where Jacksonville's ground game really starts getting in gear. Lawrence opens it up a little bit, and you find yourself down 17-3, 17-6 early, and you kind of scratch and claw, but Jacksonville wins it late. You know, a road dog, 3.5 with the hook. I'm comfortable with that. I hate doing it. I'm leaning towards the Jacksonville Jags on this one. Denver's got to trip up at least once. They have to. They have to. Falcons and the Cardinals, I told you, play the over. Steelers and the Lions, we love the Lions in this spot. Like the Texans, 14.5 over the Raiders. The Ravens are going to try to pound the rock. If New England can get their ground game going against Baltimore, you keep them off the field. Baltimore has been so hit or miss, but this has the makings of a Derrick Henry type of game. 28 carries, $136. The defense gets to May a little bit. And then Denver, you don't have to worry if you lost because New England's going to lose on Sunday night. And then Monday night, 49ers and the Colts. We'll talk more about that on Monday, but I'm leaning towards the 49ers in this one, who have a clear path to getting home field advantage. If Giants lose out, do they draft Mendoza? I mean, that's just, come on, stop. Ridiculous. I don't like that. And now here we go. Great show as always. I never miss a minute. Well, I mean, listen, now all of a sudden you threw the juice, you threw the salt, you're making fun of the blue screen, as we like to call it, the green screen in the business. And now you're coming back with the Giants lose out. Do they draft Mendoza? No. If the Giants have a number 1 draft pick, they will trade back. They will get asset. All right. 5:10 on the East Coast. We got to wrap it up. We got a call game tonight. I do apologize for the software issue. They should draft him. No, they're not going to draft him. Why would you do that? No, again with the juice. Just get 4 o'clock in the morning. That's all I have to say. 4 o'clock in the morning. Double overtime last night. In Asia. How about that? Aloha, Merry Christmas, everyone. Great show, Q. Oh, look at this. Joey B. the Real Salad decides to chime in at 10 after while having all internet issues. And there we go. It's December 19th. This guy's wishing us Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Danny K. hop down the chimney. There you go. What are we doing right here? 12 noon here on Whoa. Okay, what island are you in? I don't even want to know what island you're at. Because I know there's going to be a wise ass comment that I'm not going to be able to say on the air. Death Star Mike needs to go in 2026. Free the Death Star Mike. Hashtag Death Star Mike be gone. No, again, not happening. I'm on Maui. So let's check to see let's check out Joey's story. Maui time right now, 12:10 p.m. He's right. Well, my friend was just over in Hawaii. What island are you hanging out? Kenapali Beach. Oh, until the 29th. Okay, a little surfing over there? Little hot toddy? You don't do any hot toddy over there, do you? What do you you do a little snorkeling? Kanapali. Kanapali. Let's see. Kanapali is a planned resort community in Maui County, Hawaii, on the island of Maui, located in Old Hawaii. Okay, Hakanaka. Okay, there you go. Not bad. Now, here's the question. Would you have been able to stay longer? Oh, wait, you never went to that Denver game, so we don't have to worry about that because you said the tickets were going to be unbelievable. Well, that's, you know what? Have a good time. Have a little Mai Tai, little cocktail, put the little umbrella in it. All right, tomorrow. Check out the YouTube for notifications. We will be on the air, whether it's here on the YouTube channel or, again, through the multiple platforms. I feel very naked today. Fresh roasted coffee is cold. I'm sorry, BYP20, your first purchase. I apologize to John Bueller. I apologize to Lloyd Vance. I apologize to you guys, but we at least got a good 60-plus minutes in. We'll do some NFL talk tomorrow. Check the YouTube channel for notifications. Don't forget, we're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Played Against Sports, 2 locations in Deptford and also in Mount Laurel. Get ready with tea and 3 Brooks Bourbon. We appreciate you guys roughing it, right? A little old school style on the YouTube channel with me on a Football Friday, or What the Freight Friday edition of On Cue. We'll be back in the saddle mañana. Check out the show notes. Have a good Sports Friday. A lot of football tomorrow. I promise you guys, a lot of football tomorrow. We'll get into college. We'll get into the NFL. We'll get into a little more of the Nacua situation, also Tua benching, and we'll give you some good picks and plays. New episode of BYP was dropped. That's on the YouTube channel. That actually worked out well with the software today. So with that being said, have a good Friday. We'll talk to you mañana. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.